The Black Sea never forgets. It remembers every empire, every lie told in steel. This episode is about repetition, how conquest learns and comes back cleaner. Vladimir isn't replaying the past, he's refining it. Georgia, Crimea, Donbas, each a note in the echo of empire. Some call it defence, NATO pressure, insecurity, a cornered bear protecting its borders. It isn't. Cornered bears don't annex neighbours. Vladimir wants vengeance for the fall of Mother Russia. The mightiest military on earth, flags waving, uniforms pressed, was defeated without firing a shot. But remember, vengeance is only grief with teeth. So listen closely, because the ghosts of old maps are marching again and their general is very much alive. The Black Sea often escapes attention. Too far east for Europe to care, too close to Moscow for comfort. But this sea, it's an ancient front line. Even the Greeks turned it into myth. Now it's all logistics. A grain artery. Ukraine, Romania, Turkey, Georgia and Russia all needed to reach world markets. But while we focus on Russia's slow crawl through Ukraine, Vladimir's been playing a quieter game, and a far more dangerous one. He's not just lining his pockets, he wants to rebuild the old USSR. That's what we called the Russian Empire in the 20th century. Old Mother Russia stories still steer choices. Memory becomes a map, and people fight over maps. Let's take a tour of the Black Sea to see how he's faring. We'll skip Ukraine for now, and start with Georgia. You might remember 2008. Russia invaded, occupied the north. The world frowned, moved on. Russia stayed and tightened its grip on its former colony. In 2022, Georgians flooded the streets, demanded pro-Ukraine support. 2 years later, that same government passed a law straight from Vladimir's playbook, branding civic groups as foreign agents. Then it won re-election in a campaign international observers said was marred by intimidation, pressure on voters, and an uneven playing field. Protests? Massive. Outcome? Meaningless. Georgia didn't fall to tanks. It fell to disinformation and a government that chose Moscow over its own people's future. Some say these countries are just following present incentives. Security needs. The people miss the stability of the old Soviet system. That this is choice, not coercion. Ask the Georgians in the streets if it felt like a choice. Then there's Turkey. Not conquered, not a colony, but compromised from the inside out. Erdogan's bought Russia's S-400 missile system and got kicked off the F-35 program. He let Moscow build him a pipeline under the Black Sea and a nuclear power plant on its shore. He refused to join sanctions against Russia. He even helped Moscow dodge them. A NATO member running Russian air defences fueled by Russian gas while Russian operatives allegedly pumped deepfakes into Turkish elections. That's not an ally. That's a liability with a flag. Bulgaria? 8 elections in 5 years. The far-right, pro-Kremlin, pro-Putin revival party has been gaining ground every time. Russian disinformation? Documented. Public disillusionment? Off the charts. Then, in April 2026, voters crushed revival, down to 4%. But the man who replaced them calls Crimea Russian, projects his Putin handshake at rallies, and wants Russian energy flowing again. He just won in a landslide. Same positions? Better suit. Bulgaria didn't reject the message, just upgraded the messenger. Now let's visit Romania. Rarely mentioned in the media, what's happening there is a warning, and a cause for cautious optimism. In 2024, Russia ran a full-scale disinformation campaign to hijack the election. Romania's courts annulled the result. Then the USA intervened, on the side of Russia. Just as Romania was stabilising, guess who shows up? J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States. He stands before NATO and accuses Europe of suppressing free speech in Romania by stopping Russia's election interference.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
That speech, it made him the poster child of the pro-Russian far right.
What is happening in Romania is just the first episode of the unelected elites in Brussels that are trying to take over the power in all 27 European states. We all loved here in Romania the speech of J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Conference, then repeated at CPEC where TV Republica was present.
It's now gospel, used to discredit courts, institutions, democracy itself. The joke? It's further proof the USA, well, Donald really, is siding with Vladimir, his business partner. The message landed. Authoritarian movements swelled. The ripples spread. One speech, one moment, almost delivered Romania into Donald and Vladimir's arms. Yet, in a stunning upset, Romania said no. Pro-MAGA, pro-Kremlin George Simeon lost. Nikoza Dan won. A pro-EU reformer with no billion-dollar backers. Dan took 54%. That wasn't just an election, it was a referendum. Kremlin chaos against European rule of law. Simeon echoed Donald, parroted Vladimir, and lost. Romania held the line. Then there's Hungary. Vladimir sent a team, GRU operatives, embedded in Budapest. Social media manipulation, fabricated stories, even a plan, codenamed Game Changer, to stage a fake assassination attempt on Orban to make him look like a victim. And of course, J.D. Vance and Donald had to make a show to support their old mates Vladimir and Orban.
I actually had a special guest that asked that I give him a phone call, and we'll see. Let's hope he actually answers. So this is going to be very embarrassing. All right.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet.
Okay. Try one more time. Hello, Mr. President. How are you?
Hi. Hey, JD, could you give me a second? I'm just... Wow, that's some...
Mr. President, you are on with about 5,000 Hungarian patriots, and I think they love you even more than they love Viktor Orban.
It didn't work. Neither did the rest of it. Peter Magyar's Tisza party won a 2/3 supermajority, and Orban, after 16 years, shocked the world by accepting the result. Now zoom out. Vance lights fires inside NATO. Romania defies the odds and holds on. Bulgaria swaps the bottle for the drip. Turkey snarls behind Russian hardware. Georgia falls. Hungary fights back and wins. A region under attack, and who benefits? The same two real estate developers we keep circling back to. Donald and Vladimir. Plotting Arctic deals, undermining institutions, wrecking treaties, filling pipelines. They're not conquering the world. They're stealing it. then they'll sell it back to us. But the plan's not going smoothly, because patriots still exist. Romania held the line, Hungary fought back, and at the centre of their business deal is Ukraine. There the fight for freedom continues. Men and women, not fighting for profit but for freedom, spilling blood to defend the world. And that, more than any sanction, speech or system, is why Donald and Vladimir are furious. Because the Black Sea is still not enough. Not without Ukraine, Crimea, the Sea of Azov. It sounds like a forgotten myth, doesn't it? The Sea of Azov, a shallow sea wedged in the corner of Europe, barely deeper than a backyard pool. But it might just decide the future of trade, power and planetary wealth. Vladimir knows this. He sells it as revival. Restore Russia's greatness by restoring control over neighbours and the seas they border. It wouldn't be the first time. People have watched this place longer than most countries have existed, longer than international law, longer than maps. The Greeks told stories about it. This is where Jason and the Argonauts chased the Golden Fleece east of the civilised world past the edge of comfort. They said the Amazons lived here too. Not the tech giant. Female warriors with spears and horses and strong opinions about men with swords. But it wasn't just myth. What happens here doesn't stay here. It becomes precedent. And that precedent travels to the Arctic, to the Cape, to Panama, to Suez, to every corner where sea meets ambition. Some say Vladimir's ambitions are smaller. Buffer zones, regime survival, not a full Soviet remake, just a cornered leader protecting what he has. Then why does the map keep growing? So when this shallow little sea keeps coming up, it's not nostalgia, it's not myth. It's because the world keeps testing the rules here. And when those rules break, they don't get patched, they get rewritten. Not just in the Azov Sea, not just in the Black Sea, not just in Europe, but in Canada, Greenland, as far afield as Taiwan. People stopped reaching over their borders with friendship. Now they're diplomatic, but wary. The shutters are drawn. The false story of revival always ends the same way. Not with greatness restored, with neighbours armed. In a world where the law no longer matters, put away the butter churn, pull in the welcome mat. Now is the time to make guns. Behind the scenes, Russia and the USA are making quiet, ruthless moves to redraw trade routes, rewrite maritime law, and leave the rest of us as flotsam beneath an Arctic icebreaker. Myths of ancient seas and borders drawn in legend now justify modern grabs and quiet cruelty. The world has been unbalanced, not for security, not for stability, but for the personal benefit of two men. So let's play a little strategy game. Let's talk Nash equilibrium. No one moves, because any move makes things worse. You don't fire your nukes, I won't fire mine. Tense, ugly, but it holds. Until someone upends the board. Starts a new game. That's where we are now. The linchpin, the tiny Sea of Azov. Just 1/6 the size of America's Great Lakes. Vladimir wants it. All of it. Donald has trillions of dollars of personal wealth riding on it. They've applied to the UN International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea to have it declared Russian internal waters. The problem? The sea isn't just Russian. it's also Ukrainian. Crimea and the coasts of Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, all occupied territory but under international law, still Ukrainian. Some say the myths are window dressing, that hard military opportunity drives the action, that this isn't personal, not for Vladimir, not for Donald, just great power politics doing what great power politics does. The tribunal knows exactly what's at stake. If they give Russia the Sea of Azov, it sets precedent. A precedent Russia will immediately use to grab the Arctic Sea. So the tribunal plays for time. No decision until the war ends. Not yes, not no. Just delay. It's the best they can do. The ball's in our court now, because they know the door to the Arctic's riches runs through the Sea of Azov. And whatever the tribunal decides, the world loses. Donald and Vladimir's chess game is almost over. And all those dead civilians and soldiers, mostly Russian but also Ukrainian, are about to pay off big time in cold, hard cash to Donald and Vladimir's pocket. The Arctic is about to open like a can of oil-rich worms. So here it is. 3 futures, 3 possibilities, 3 outcomes. You've seen it now. Myth turned into market. Market turned into blood. Soviet ghosts and Ukrainian fuel driving one man's dream and an empire restored. The Arctic is the reward if he can hold what he's taken. Azov isn't shallow water. It's legal tinder. Some still call it defence. NATO pressure. A cornered leader protecting his borders. The map says otherwise. If that link feels overstated, say so below. If it tracks, quiet like is enough. If you're still here, subscribe before the next match drops.
We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Next episode, the witness takes the stand. Crimea speaks, and what it says changes everything.